It didn't end with a fight. It didn't end with shouting. It didn't even end with tears. It ended on a quiet night, when both of them were sitting in the same room and felt like strangers. That's how most love stories actually break. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly and painfully quiet. There was a time when being together felt effortless, when silence felt safe, when just knowing the other person was nearby was enough to feel okay. Back then, they talked without trying, about everything and about nothing. They shared dreams they were afraid to say out loud. They shared fears they never showed anyone else. They laughed at things no one else would understand. He used to look at her and think, if I lose everything, at least I won't lose this. She used to believe the same. When they decided to get married, it didn't feel dramatic. It felt obvious, like choosing something that was already chosen. The wedding was simple, warm smiles, promises that felt honest at the time. People told them, hold on to this love. It's rare. And for a while, they did. Marriage didn't change them overnight. There was no sudden shift, no clear moment where things went wrong. Life just slowly became louder than love. Workdays became longer, responsibilities heavier, energy shorter. They still lived under the same roof, still shared meals, still slept in the same bed. But conversations became practical, necessary, surface level. How was your day? Fine. Tired. Those 3 words replaced everything they used to say. He began to feel lonely in a way that confused him, because technically, he wasn't alone. She felt it too, but she assumed it was normal, that this is what happens after marriage, that love matures into routine, so they ignored the quiet discomfort. They avoided asking difficult questions, not because they didn't care, but because caring felt exhausting. Small misunderstandings stayed unresolved. Unspoken thoughts piled up. Affection turned into habit. They didn't stop loving each other. They just stopped reaching. And when 2 people stop reaching, distance doesn't need permission to grow. Neither of them noticed exactly when. They stopped feeling seen. And that's the most dangerous part of love. When nothing feels obviously broken, you don't try to fix it. You just assume it will survive on its own. And that's usually when it starts slipping away. He didn't notice her at first. Not the way people notice someone new. Not with interest. Not with intention. She was just there, a familiar presence in places that felt increasingly empty, a voice that didn't rush him, a person who listened without trying to fix anything. She didn't ask him why he was distant. She didn't complain. She didn't expect explanations. She just listened. And when someone hasn't felt heard in a long time, that alone can feel like relief. It started with harmless conversations. Short exchanges, work-related, ordinary, but there was something different about how she responded. She noticed pauses. She noticed tone. She noticed the things he didn't say. At home, conversations felt scheduled, predictable, necessary. With her, words came out without effort. Not because he loved her, not because he planned anything, but because he felt lighter when he talked. That scared him, so he told himself it was nothing, that everyone needs someone to talk to, that he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was still loyal, still responsible, still married. But emotional distance doesn't ask for permission. It grows quietly, just like loneliness does. She asked him questions no one had asked him in a long time. How he was really doing, what he felt stuck in, what he missed about himself. Questions that shouldn't feel dangerous, but did. Because answering them meant admitting something was missing. At home, she was tired too, carrying her own version of silence, trying to keep things together without knowing what was falling apart. She sensed the change, not in his actions, but in his absence. He was present, but not reachable, listening, but not connecting, there, but already somewhere else. She wondered if she was imagining it, if she was asking for too much, if marriage was just supposed to feel like this. So she stayed quiet, and that silence gave space for something else to grow. He didn't wake up one day wanting someone else. He woke up wanting to feel understood, and he didn't realize how dangerous that want could be until it was already too late to ignore. He started noticing the weight of his thoughts, not during conversations, not while he was busy, but in the quiet moments, late at night, when the room was dark and sleep refused to come. He would lie beside her, listening to her breathing, and feel a kind of guilt. He couldn't explain. Nothing had happened. No lines had been crossed, no promises broken. And yet, something felt wrong. He hated himself for feeling this way, for finding comfort somewhere else, for feeling lighter outside his own home. So he tried to fix it. He paid more attention, forced conversations, asked questions he thought he was supposed to ask, but it felt rehearsed, like playing a role instead of being present. She noticed the effort, but effort without warmth feels strange. It made her uneasy. She began to question herself, wonder if she had changed too much, if she had become boring, predictable, easy to overlook. She replayed old memories in her head, trying to remember when she stopped feeling chosen, when love became something assumed instead of something felt. He, on the other hand, was drowning in confusion. Every conversation with the other woman felt calm, uncomplicated, safe, not because she demanded less, but because she expected nothing. and that terrified him because peace can feel addictive when you've been living in tension for too long. He told himself it was temporary, that it would pass, that this wasn't who he was. But emotions don't disappear just because you refuse to name them. They wait, they grow, they take shape in silence. At home, she began pulling away too, not out of anger, out of self-protection. When you don't feel seen, you slowly stop showing up. Their house became quiet in a different way, not peaceful, empty. Two people living side by side, both feeling alone, both afraid to say the one thing that mattered most. And somewhere between guilt and comfort, between loyalty and honesty, he realized something painful. Avoiding the truth was starting to hurt more than facing it ever could. The truth didn't arrive all at once. It came in fragments, in the way he avoided her eyes, in how silence stretched longer than comfort, in how coming home felt heavier than leaving. He started realizing that the problem wasn't love. It was honesty, not the kind you confess loudly, but the kind you face quietly when no one is watching. He wasn't unhappy because of one person, and he wasn't happy because of another. He was unhappy because he had stopped being honest about what he needed, and she felt it. Not through words, but through distance. She noticed how he listened without really hearing, how his presence felt divided, how warmth had turned into politeness. She asked herself questions she was afraid of answering. Was she asking for too much? Or had she been asking for too little for too long? There were nights she wanted to ask him directly, to break the silence, to risk the truth. But fear held her back, fear of confirming what she already felt, fear of losing something she had tried so hard to protect. He too stood on the edge of confession many times, but every time the words rose in his chest, guilt swallowed them. How do you explain something when you don't fully understand it yourself? How do you admit that you feel distant without sounding ungrateful? So they both waited, and waiting has a way of making decisions for you. The third woman didn't push, didn't demand, didn't ask him to choose. And somehow that made everything worse, because the more space she gave him, the more he filled it with things he should have shared at home. He wasn't planning to leave. He wasn't planning to stay either. He was stuck in between and slowly tearing everything apart. At some point, he realized that doing nothing was no longer neutral. Silence had become a choice, and that choice was hurting everyone. That night, sitting alone, he understood something he had been avoiding. The marriage wasn't breaking because of another woman. It was breaking because two people had stopped telling the truth about how alone they felt. And once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it. She started noticing herself disappearing, not all at once, not in obvious ways, but in small moments, in how she stopped sharing her thoughts, in how she laughed a little less freely, in how she paused before speaking as if weighing whether her words still mattered. She blamed herself first, because that felt easier than blaming the person she loved. Maybe she had changed too much. Maybe she had become too serious, too tired, too predictable. She remembered who she used to be, the version of herself that felt light, the one who spoke without thinking, the one who believed she was enough. And she wondered when exactly she stopped being that person. She tried fixing things quietly, doing more, expecting less. She convinced herself that love was about patience, about endurance, about staying even when it hurts, but staying without being seen. Slowly breaks something inside you. She noticed how he flinched at certain questions, how his answers felt rehearsed, how his affection felt careful, like he was afraid of giving too much. There were nights she lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, asking herself questions she never thought she'd ask. Was she invisible? Was she replaceable? Was this what being chosen forever was supposed to feel like? She didn't want another person. She didn't want attention. She wanted him, the version of him that used to look at her like nothing else mattered. But wanting something doesn't make it come back. One night, the weight became too heavy, the silence too loud. She realized something painful. She had been fighting alone for something that required two people. And no matter how much love she gave, she couldn't reach someone who was already emotionally elsewhere. That realization didn't come with anger. It came with exhaustion, a quiet kind of surrender, the kind where you stop asking why and start asking how long. You can keep doing this to yourself. The decision didn't come in a moment of anger. It came after too many quiet nights, after too many mornings that felt heavy before the day even began, after too many conversations that ended without saying anything real. They sat across from each other one evening, the way they had done countless times before. Same room, same table, same familiar distance. And for the first time, neither of them tried to pretend. He spoke slowly, carefully, not because he was hiding something, but because he was afraid of saying it wrong. He admitted what he had avoided for too long, that he felt lost, that he felt disconnected, that he didn't know how to find his way back. He didn't blame her. He didn't defend himself. He just told the truth, as imperfect and unfinished as it was. She listened without interrupting, without crying, without raising her voice. That silence scared him more than any argument ever could. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but tired. She said she had felt alone for a long time, that she had tried to hold things together quietly, that she had waited hoping something would change on its own. She told him she wasn't angry anymore, just exhausted. They didn't talk about the other woman. They didn't need to, because by then the real problem was clear. Two people can love each other and still fail to meet each other's needs. Love, they realized, doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it just isn't enough. The word divorce wasn't said right away. It hovered in the room, unspoken but understood. When it finally came out, it didn't sound dramatic. It sounded final, not like a threat, not like a punishment, like an acceptance that holding on was hurting more than letting go. They agreed without shouting, without accusations, without making each other villains. Just two people admitting that they had reached a place they didn't know how to leave together. That night, they slept in the same house, but something had shifted. The tension was gone, replaced by a quiet grief. The kind that comes when you realize the hardest part is already over, and yet the consequences were just beginning. After the decision, life didn't fall apart. That surprised them both. There were no dramatic scenes, no sudden chaos, no moment where everything collapsed at once. Instead, life became quiet in a different way. Boxes appeared slowly. Belongings were sorted carefully. Things that once mattered were placed aside without much thought. They spoke politely now, gently, like two people who knew each other well, but no longer belonged to each other. That kindness hurt more than anger ever could. He moved out first. The house felt strange without him. Not empty exactly, just unfamiliar. She noticed how silence filled the rooms differently now. There was no one to disappoint, no one to wait for, no one to hope would suddenly change, and that freedom came with pain. She went through waves of emotion, relief, sadness, guilt for feeling relieved, guilt for feeling sad. Some nights she cried quietly, not because she missed the marriage, but because she missed who she used to be inside it. He, on the other hand, felt something unexpected, loneliness, not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from knowing you were part of something meaningful and let it slip away. The third woman faded naturally, without confrontation, without explanation. What once felt comforting now felt complicated, because once the marriage ended, he was left alone with himself, and that was harder than any choice he had made. They met one last time to sign the papers. No anger, no bitterness, just two people acknowledging that they had loved each other the best they knew how, and that sometimes the best isn't enough. When they walked away, neither of them felt like a winner, because in stories like this, there are no winners. only people who learn something too late. They learned that love needs honesty before it needs patience, that silence can destroy just as much as betrayal, that waiting too long can turn care into distance. And most importantly, they learned that losing someone doesn't always come from choosing someone else. Sometimes it comes from losing yourself first. If you're listening to this and parts of it feel uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. And maybe the story isn't meant to blame anyone. Maybe it's meant to remind us to speak sooner, listen deeper, and never assume love will survive without care, because the quiet endings are often the ones that stay with us the longest.